we don't want to rip the...
Yeah.
Got it.
Oh yeah, there you go. Come on, strong man.
There and there, and there, and there. Alright, so after many hours, we got this set pretty much complete. There's going to be a second swing here, but it came with just the single swing. And then you were supposed to buy an aftermarket, it's almost like a horse thing that swings here, but I didn't see that, and I want 2 swings. So when we're in town, I'll get 2 swings, and then it had a rock wall climber thing here for the monkey bars. But I'm just going to put green treated 2x4 for how to get up there, because that's how our last one was, and the rock wall is like $200. It's pretty expensive. So otherwise we have this climbing wall and the stairs, little lookout and a cute little window thing, chalkboard, and a picnic bench. I'm going to actually center the chalkboard. It called for it to be all the way to the left, but I'm going to center it because I don't like the way it looks. Nice slide on here for Rose. Still has the sticker glue on there. But yeah, it took a lot of time. But with some help from Matthew, my brother-in-law, and just a lot of hours, we got her put together. So Rose is playing on it today. She really likes it, which makes me happy. We have the car in the garage today because we got to get started with the maintenance that it needs. It's been a good car. It needed 1 brake caliper so far, and that's the only headache that it gave me. But what it's getting right now is it's due for an oil change. The van is due for an oil change also. And then I bought all new brakes, rotors, and pads for it, and a new water pump. And the water pump isn't, you know, necessarily like needs to get done today, but it started to make a little growling noise, so I want to get it swapped out sooner rather than later. But this car has been really good to me, and I'm glad I got it. And I actually got the best gas mileage out of it this past weekend. We were going between 60 and 65 miles an hour heading up, and I got 44 miles per gallon, which is pretty good. I'd say this thing averages like low 30s, but 44 was definitely my all-time best that I've seen. Bucket. These brake pads weren't all that bad. You can see they got a lot of life left in them, but the rotor was starting to get wobbly, and that always drives me nuts when it starts to get warped, as I like to call it. So that's when they go, is when they start to warp. There we go. This one is off. Clean just to get the dust and junk out. There we go. So that freshens all that up. And now we're going to put our new rotor drum on. So, put it on backwards and give it a good spray. Rest the thread off. These water pumps are fairly simple. So what I was feeling is the back and forth and the up and down. This one, no play. This one, probably a 1/16 of play. And it's up and down, side to side. So that's what's going to cause your grinding. But looking at this is nice because you can see just how easy it is to change. So it sits, let's see, how does it sit in here? I believe it sits like this. And all the bolts are pretty much right there. I think I might have to pop that alternator off to kind of shimmy it past, but looks really easy. It's on the top side, so we shouldn't lose, you know, all of our fluid. And we should get it out and in pretty quick. Okay, a Milwaukee and 14 mil. Now we're just scooching this thing, and I'm not going to scooch it all that far because I don't think I have to. I actually think that that's probably more than enough. I'm just trying to get to the top here, which is, where is that thing? So it sits in there something like this, and that alternator's just covering this little bit here. So I scooched it, and now I should be able to just undo those bolts, and it should just pop right on. Okay, we got our last one. Love you, darling. This thing has a sharp edge on it somewhere. Got me there. And all the way up my thumb it butterflied me. What the heck? Oh yeah, this whole edge is razor sharp. That's really... It's the gasket. Yeah, this gasket is like steel. Huh. That got me good, because when it popped it fell. And it got my finger in apparently there. But anyways, so here it is, all of its glory. You hear it? So it's definitely bad. But like unbelievable type stuff right there. Four and a half quarts plus filter. So 5 quarts total, I believe, is what does it. Okay, everyone, we have new water pump, new belt, new oil filter, new oil. I don't have coolant for it, but I can see there's still coolant in the jug here, so it'll burp the system and suck that in. And I'll get some tomorrow when I'm in town, but I'm going to start it so you guys can hear it. Whenever I start it after an oil change, it sounds rough for like what feels like a very long time, because it has to pump that oil pressure up. So you guys will be able to hear that, but once it catches, it'll be fine. Okay, so now that we have the brakes on here, we're going to brake them in. And braking them in is so important. The van, I broke in like textbook proper. It was like 5 times at 15 miles an hour, and then you like worked your way up. And what I mean by 5 times is you go out, you get her up to 30, and you just jam on the brakes super hard. Over and over and over again. I actually got car sick when I did the van. But what it does is it transfers some of that brake pad material into the rotor, and it is a night and day difference when done properly. So you do that quite a few times, and then you drive for a minute to cool them off. But I'll kind of show you here. So you want to get up to speed. Make sure there's no one behind you. Hit the brakes. And then continue moving. And do that over and over and over again. Heat them up really good, but then, you know, to keep them straight, you want to have a good drive for maybe 15 minutes to really cool them down at the end. So it makes a difference, trust me. So I'm going to do that for a minute, and then we'll go from there. Alright, we got that taken care of. I wish there was a better way to do that, but you just kind of got to go out and jam on the brakes. And now we're just kind of coasting back. Like I said, 10 or 15 minutes. Let them cool down on their own, and should be good for next time. Alright, so Sam and I were just sitting by the fire for a little bit. Now I'm letting it burn down. It's getting windy out there, so letting it burn down a little bit, and I'm going to tinker here in the garage. Okay, we got our new fuel tank here. 6 gallons, just like that one. And Bought it on Amazon. It was 65 bucks. So I found one at Fleet Farm, but that one was, how expensive was it? I think it was $100 for a 6-gallon at Fleet Farm. So all I'm doing is just transferring over the fitting here. And it does have the tape wrapped on it. And I'm just going to dump that fuel into this one. It's been interesting watching this tank because it was in okay shape. It looked really good when I first bought it, but I put the fuel in there, and then where we live now, the temperature swing is pretty big. It goes from maybe mid 40s at night to 80, 85 during the day. And so the tank is just scrunched and then blows up and scrunched and blows up, which is usual for gas, but this tank just can't take it. So you guys have seen it now quite a few times. We fixed this crack, we fixed this crack. Look at now, 1, 2, 3, 4. This whole side is spider cracked. I mean, when I bought it, it didn't look nearly that bad, but now it's really bad. So we are just transferring the fuel over, and then we're going to work on the boat motor, and I'll explain that in just a second here. So with the boat motor, when I went up and stayed for my overnight, that morning I dropped off those antlers at Grandpa's place, and it was a little bit boggy outside of Grandpa's place when I was leaving, and the trolling motor got all wrapped up with weeds, and so I was actually stuck, and the wind was blowing, so I was getting wind blown into the shoreline. So I fired up the motor. I paddled out as far as I could, but everything was wrapped in weeds. I was really getting stuck. And so I fired up the motor and tried my best to get out of there, but it hit a mud bog pretty much right away. And I believe ruined the impeller because it stopped peeing water, so I just idled it pretty much across the lake real slow and kind of kept an eye and a hand on top of that engine to make sure it wasn't just cooking. And it did fine. It wasn't super hot, and I noticed it right when it happened, so it wasn't like it was a huge deal. Or, you know, it wasn't like I was going full bore across the lake or something. I noticed it and went slow. But, it actually kind of works out because I wanted to swap lower units with the other one and see if that one runs any better. I'll explain that. I want you to just take a peek at this ensemble. What I want you to notice is the color of these packs. These are the charge packs, if you will. And just another thing I want you to notice is over here, the oil. A lot of gunky, oily filth that has developed on that side of this boat engine. So what I'm going to do now is unhook the fuel and get this one off. We'll slap the next one on, and I'll undo the cover so you can see how much better or fresher that one looks. This cover here is actually the wrong cover. Notice how this looks so much more red? The interesting thing about it is this motor actually feels older to me in a way because it has an older school shift lever. But as far as like the internals go, they look a lot fresher. And on this side here, notice how there's like no oil. So I believe that this one might be in a better condition. But through the magic of editing, you guys won't have to bear the 3 to 4 hours worth of time it took me to get the lower unit matched back up with this upper. The linkages I thought were different, and I thought they weren't lining up, but what it ended up being is the long shaft that connects the actual engine to the prop just wasn't lining up. But I took it apart, took out the little shaft, adjusted it all over and over and over again to get it right. So anyways, once I finally did get it put back together, I realized that the little steel plate that goes on top of that impeller was sitting on the bench next to my bolts. So then I had to take it all back apart. Yikes. But just for 1 second, I'll start it for you guys. You're supposed to start them underwater, but if it's just for 1 minute, I don't think that you guys will mind. Alright, so we put her on the start. I'll give the fuel a little pumpy pump. Choke it. So it runs, and it runs actually pretty good. Here, let's put it back to start. It is really cold today. So I did rev her up a little bit. I don't want to rev it up right now because I already did rev it up earlier today. That was probably like 5-6 hours ago. But when I put it back together, I swamped that impeller with WD-40 so that when I started it, it wasn't going to be dry. So I did try to, I guess, help it along that way. But this is the wrong cover. This is for a 7.5 and this is a 9.8. I thought it looked wrong. Okay, there we go. So I guess what we have to do is go out on the lake and give this one a whirl, but I tell you, comparing it to that one, this one sure feels like it really revs up fast, so we'll see. It definitely might work fresher, or be fresher, I don't necessarily know, but we'll find out pretty quick, so anyways, awesome. So today we're tackling these horizontal pieces. There used to be a roof that would jut out, and now it's not, because there's a cement slab underneath here that used to cover, but they put a deck up so now it doesn't line up. But we got to rip that off and put a piece of siding up there. I don't think it's going to be too hard because it seems pretty rotten. But let's get started. Okay, we got that nice piece on the top and it looks so much better this way. It was really driving me insane. But now, before we paint, we have to get these two windows replaced. Now the bay window, it's 79 wide by 48 tall, and 79 is a really weird old school size. I think nowadays they come 84, 85 wide. And to custom order a bay window would be very expensive, and also probably be hard to get right now with the way things are. So what we were talking about doing, and what I think we are going to do, is put two windows where this bay window sits. They're going to be probably single hung windows, and they're going to be 48 tall, which is the same height, and 36 wide. And then in between we'll stack two 2x4s. So we'll have a double window. It'll actually look pretty much like one big window because we'll trim it out and it'll look nice. But it'll save us probably $400 to $600, and it's something we can get at Menards today. So we got to get that window swapped out, and it's not going to be a bay anymore because bay windows tend to have a lot of problems with moisture. So just be a flat window there, and then over the kitchen sink there, it's going to get shoved, I believe, more towards the garage by a few inches when we replace that one. Once we get those two windows replaced though, we can paint the front of this house and it'll look really pretty. So I'm hoping to start on the windows here shortly. While I was putting this lower unit back together, I noticed that the floor was wet right here, and I noticed that there was drips coming from, see right there, it's wet. Yeah, so it's like right in here, maybe right there, and then there's another drip right under here. So there's a little bit of water in here because when I was working on the car it rained, and I brought this back in, but the water's just a little bit because the drain plug isn't all the way to the bottom, but it must have a weep on the seam. And I noticed that when we were out and about, like when I did my overnight camp, I noticed that I'd have to sponge it out more frequently than I thought. But I figured it was coming from that side where that little dent is, or the drain plug. I actually ordered a new drain plug. It showed up 2 days ago, but now I see that it's actually over here. It's dripping. That side's dry, so I'm gonna just get some clear silicone or some RTV or something. We'll clean it up real good. Maybe I'll hit it with a wire brush to give it a little rough surface, and we'll lay a nice bead in there and call it a day. But let's find that sponge I got, and let's kind of sponge this out and get it dried out so we can work on that. This evening we're back in the basement to do a little demo work, if you will. Sam and I have been talking over all of our options and what we want to do down here. So this wall here divides the living room and when you walk down the stairs, and it kind of gives a closed off feeling. Like I said in the first video, the lady, actually this was her bedroom down here, but for us it's going to be like a guest room, secondary living room. I'm going to ask that you mind the mess because this has become Rose's toy wonderland, and so she has toys all over the floor, and her organizer and stuff is sitting there, but I didn't want to move the furniture around yet because it's going to get dusty if I put it on this side of the room where I want it. So in between the post and the wall, that's going to get filled in, and that will be a wall. And then the TV is going to be sitting in the corner here. This light's going bye-bye. Back here, we're going to take that door out and frame that in and sheetrock it. And this will all get sheetrocked on the back. And we're going to put a Murphy bed right here that flips down. In the front here, it'll be either, chairs, couch, or, vice versa. And then you'll be able to see the TV. And that gives a little bit of division here if somebody wants to be sleeping or, just a guest. It kind of gives a little bit of space. Initially, we were going to wall the whole thing across, but we decided not to because we're going to put that Murphy bed in here. That way Rose has room to play down here. You can see she already has been making a huge mess down here. But it'll be, we just ordered a new bed set upstairs. So the Murphy bed, that's its own frame. But as far as the nightstands go and a dresser, we have our new set coming. So the old set can sit down here. And then in that corner is the sump pump. And I'm going to wall it all the way up, make that into some sort of a little closet. And then I'll put insulation in the wall so when the sump pump kicks on, you shouldn't really hear much of it. This furnace is going to get sheetrocked over in this whole space. This is getting sheetrocked over. This will all have sheetrock. And the door that I'm about to cut out is going to hopefully fit in here. They made this a really weird space because they wanted to angle the wall, and it's already tiled, so I don't really know what to do about it. But we got a post right here, a main post, so I can't really move that much. So we're gonna hope that the door fits in here and opens. I measured it, there's enough space. It's just if it feels weird when you open that door. It has to open this way, and then the switch will have to go up and over and down on this side. So you flick the switch with opening the door. And I'm
gonna close the door, Dad.
I'm gonna be taking the door out, sweetie.
Oh, do you want to go upstairs?
No. Oh.
Okay. And for the floor, we're gonna be putting on a attached pad laminate wood floor, because the little carpet squares we were looking at were kind of uninteresting to us. So, all right, we get to do the nice job of cutting out this door. Got the Sawzall and the metal cutting blade. They decided to use nails, so that's why I can't really rip the nails out the way it sits. So we'll Sawzall it all around the frame and it'll just pop out. Coming out in two pieces, I guess. What's up, bud? Yeah. Wow, this is heavy.
Well, don't hurt yourself.
I'm fine. all I have is blue painter's tape, so that's, I guess, what we're gonna use. That ain't bad. So last night I ran out of space on my card, but I did buy a new card. I was running a 32 gig card, but I was filling it up almost every day, so now I'm running a 124 gig card, so that shouldn't happen again. But this is what I came up with. I got a little spacer here that eats up the space for against the hull, so it kind of bows a little bit, so that spaces it and sits it relatively level. And I'm pretty happy with that. A little bitty crack on the back here. I already put some glue on it, but I'm going to fill her up with glue again to kind of hopefully prevent that from splitting. But quick and dirty, and I don't know, it seems to work. Hopefully, you know, get a little bit of use out of it, and then we can make a better one eventually. When we ripped out those cabinets downstairs, obviously we had a lot of plywood. And a lot of it looks like this. It had a lot of nails in it, and I just sat here for maybe 20 minutes and ripped out all the nails. And now we're left with this nice piece of plywood, and it is... it's a 5/8 piece of plywood, so it's pretty good. I also have a bunch of 2x4s lying around, so what I'm going to do is put a 2x4, like for the back, this one, I'll put a 2x4 across here and a 2x4 across way over here and lay the plywood on top. And this one here, you know, you'll have to have a special little cutout, probably honestly cut around here so I can get my drain plug in and out. And then on the next two, this one and that one, we'll put a third brace in there, probably stagger it off so the water can still flow. Or maybe I'll put two that way. I'm not quite sure how those will work out yet, or how flexible or flexy this plywood will be. But what I know is I got a lot of free materials, and yes, it's going to add weight, but I think it's a pretty simple solution. I know that my dad had his, like Alumacraft boat, and he did it up pretty fancy. Maybe I can have him dig up a picture for us, but that way we have a false floor and we don't have to worry about water at our feet. And like I said, it's not a huge deal, but when you're dealing with cameras and all sorts of equipment, electronics, yeah, that gets pretty important pretty quick, because I'm out there fishing obviously to have a fun time, but you guys are along, and if I lose a $1,000 camera, that's a bad day. piece and it would be a lot easier now. Oh. That actually is really nice. It doesn't feel like it's going to crack at all right now. That feels pretty good. Ooh, okay. My head is really close to that fan. Okay, everyone, we're going to do a cook with Zach. Today is Saturday, and Samantha's at the Duluth Air Show, which is a very popular event. She's been there all day, haven't seen her, and I don't think I'll see her this evening either, but Rose and I are going to have a good old-fashioned meal. Some eye of round and beans and fried sliced potatoes. So this is gonna be a good meal. How you doing, big girl? You having a good day?
Yeah, go.
Get cooking, right?
Yeah.
I believe I asked my dad about this a long time ago, and he says you cook them on low for most of it until they kind of soften up. Then you turn them hotter for the last few minutes to kind of get the brown going on them. And that's all you need to do. Okay.